Welcome to the Passion Business Podcast, the podcast for free spirits with a big idea who want to turn their passion into a business. I'm Anke Herman and I'm your host. My guest today helps business owners in SaaS and services discover how they can run their company more efficiently, which of course leads to a big increase in sales. He created the strategy sprints method that helps his clients double their revenue in 90 days. He's the CEO and founder of Strategy Sprints, which is a global team of certified strategy sprints coaches that offers a customized strategy to help clients gain market share and work in weekly sprints, which results in fast execution. He's also a Forbes Business Council Member, a contributor to Entrepreneur Magazine, and a member of Duke Corporate Education. Welcome, Simon Severino.
Hello and welcome, Simon. I'm excited to have you here.
Hey, Anke. Hey, everybody. So cool to be here.
Wonderful. Let's just start out with where you're from originally, where you're based these days, and what's your business?
I am an Italian who is in Vienna, Austria, and I'm in the business of helping entrepreneurs run their business smoothly. That's what I do.
Awesome. So how does an Italian end up in Austria? Obviously somebody who doesn't live where she was born. I'm obviously curious. What took you to Italy? From Italy?
Well, 10 years of economic depression and an atmosphere of, this is boring, the energy is somewhere else. And so, let's see where the energy is, let's see where the party is. And that led me to explore the world. And then I did fall in love with the Viennese woman. And now we have 2 kids and we are here. And while my business is, meanwhile, since 3 years completely remote and I could do what I do from everywhere, but she has a physical business as a physiotherapist and she likes being here. And now our kids have their friends here, we have our friends here. And so we are quite now stabilized in Vienna and we like it a lot. It has a great balance of culture and nature. And so it's good to be here with kids.
That's awesome. Yeah, I do like Austria. I've never spent a lot of time there, but my parents lived in the south of Germany. So quick trip over to Austria is the thing to do. And definitely can see that it's lovely. So do you miss Italy sometimes?
Every time I'm hungry.
Oh, that is funny. That's funny. So
we are in Italy a lot. Every year we do 1 month of Italy. So basically we live every year 11 months in Vienna and 1 month in South Italy, where we have our beach house on the Ionian Sea, directly on the sea. And that is where both the kids, my wife and I, we really recenter, detox and rebalance. And that energy that carries us through the next 11 months. It's really 4 weeks, uninterrupted. We did it 17 years, never missed 1 year. And this is really important.
Yeah, that's so important. Yeah, actually, I think that whole idea of allowing ourselves to disconnect and really, really take time out. I think especially entrepreneurs, it's always hard because there's always something to do, especially when you love what you do. It's really difficult. I mean, at least I just speak for myself here, but I often hear it from people that it's actually quite hard to, but then again, in the south of Italy, I don't think it's such a struggle. So, so you help entrepreneurs run their business more smoothly. So anyone specifically?
Yes, we work only with professional services and SaaS, so consultancies, agencies, and software builders. This is who we work with because they are all in the B2B field. And since my experience, 18 years, I've just been running B2B consultancies. That's it. I've never done anything else. And so basically my network has grown in the B2B and everybody was asking me for B2B advice. How do I enter this market with this product? Should I improve the product or the sales? How do I improve the sales? These were the questions for 18 years. And so I am known in the B2B space, and this is where I can offer most.
So how did you get into that? Like have you always worked for yourself, or did you start out in a corporate job and, took it to start your own business, or how did it all start?
I did start with a global consultancy where I learned the craft from zero. Junior consultant, senior consultant, junior project manager, senior project manager, the whole spiel. Traditional consultancy. And that was the best learning opportunity for me. It was an El Dorado of learning. I've never been the smartest person in the room. All these people were flying from New York to Paris, and in between we would have 3 hours together and brainstorm what's the best market entry strategy for BMW or for Boehringer Ingelheim. It was really cool. I was reading a ton of books about systems theory, macroeconomics, strategy books, all the strategy books, and I loved them all. And I still love this field because it's also evolving. But at that time, it was really learning from the ground on what is project management? How many large projects can you run at once? How do you stay sane? How do you see the weak signals when you're getting overwhelmed? What do you do then? How do you delegate? How to structure meetings? And so that was really foundational and important, how to communicate in written and in person. And I was lucky because I was a young man full of passion, and I was fearless. So I always said, yeah, me. My boss, he was called by the CEOs of the biggest 100 companies in the world to do strategy for them. And then he would say, okay, we have to do strategy with Novartis. Who comes with me? And most of the senior people, they knew, oh my God, that's a hot potato. But I was young and fearless. I was always, I'm coming. Okay, when do we start? Tonight. All right. And we would fly to Paris. We would fly to New York. 3 hours later, I was with my boss on the way to New York on the plane. And I would ask, okay, what's the plan? And he says, that's your job to tell me now. And I had to plan something. So that's how I learned. And I loved it. I loved every minute. And then my friends were saying, but Simon, how long are you going to do this? And I said, just one more year. And I said it 4 times.
And then what happened?
Well, then I said, okay, now I know how to do it. If I know how to do market entry strategy and market execution, yeah, let's do it. Let's continue doing this because it works. But in a way that is more authentic, more me, because of course a big consultancy is of course a machine, and I am not. So how can I align what I do more with who I am? That was my main question, and that is still my most important question. And the easiest way was, hey Simon, do your own thing. You know how to do it. Do your own thing. So I became a freelance consultant. You could book me. I would fly to New York. I would moderate your workshop, and we would rock your strategy, design, and execution in your country. Did that couple years, and then I had.
So wait. Yeah. Wait. So yeah. How did you get your first client? That first client that hired you as a freelancer rather than Simon as somebody on the team of that big company?
Well, I had a network, of course, because I had helped people for 4 years. And now when we say 4 years, that means I was working 364 days per year. I did not work for 1 day of these 4 years, because, if you, in 4 years, if you want to do that speedy career that I did, you have to outpace all of your colleagues. And so I was saying yes to all the projects, and that means there was no day when I was not on. So in these 4 years, I did 364 days, because I guess 1 day I had Christmas. And so, except of the summer break, I was working every day and every weekend. So I had at that time thousands of days spent with teams. These teams are made of 4 or 5 execs. So I had hundreds of people that had a positive memory. And of course, some of them would call me. I thought some of them will call me. So I did set up a website so that I am findable, and some social medias. Yeah, I started with social medias. And I was found. I was found by the first one. That was enough for the first quarter. In B2B, you don't need a ton of clients. I had just 3-4 clients in the first year. That was enough.
But it was basically, I love that you're saying that. It comes back to relationships always, doesn't it?
Yes, networking. And a specific way of relationship, one that gets deeper and better month by month, one that when it's over, they miss you and they call you. That kind of relationship made the difference. I was not on hundreds of conferences because, as I told you, I was always working. So I had my network was only my clients. But my hope was that since they have touched the value. They know that when I am in the room, we have better decisions, more structured plans, and people do that in their countries because we have an execution system, and not just a plan, but an execution system. And I guess we will talk more about systems because that's what I'm all about. Habits, routines, and systems that you can rely on, especially in times when you cannot rely on anything outside because it's changing all the time. So what's the 5% you can really do? And that's the systems. And so I was all about systems, and they knew you can have a great plan, but people are just not gonna do it. We did so many plans, and then people in their countries, they just wouldn't do what headquarters says. So you need systems. You need systems, loops, communication loops, performance metrics, and especially systems, a cadence of conversations around the right numbers, the few numbers and right numbers. And that was what I was known for. When you have Simon in the room, well, first, the plan, he will challenge the plan until it's really working. And then second, he will not let go of the execution loops. Every week, he will ask for progress reports from every single one. So everybody will be a project manager in there, and he will be relentless. He will be a pain if somebody doesn't report. He will fly there and ask for a report.
Yeah, I was giggling when you were saying that because you get it. I mean, I see it all the time. I'm all about implementation, because I see, I think we're very similar in a lot of ways, is that an idea or a plan is just hot air until you actually implement it. It means nothing. Now, I'm curious, when you started being your own boss, was there something that you thought, ooh, never saw that coming, something that was different from what you expected being your own boss would be? It could be positive or negative, either way.
Everything was different. Some things made me really humble. So first year was easy. Becoming a freelancer was easy. Doing my first $500,000 revenue was easy. Took me, I think, 8 months. And then everything became hard. The first hardest part was sales. My goodness, how do you do your sales if you are also doing the work? So there was a real problem that if you run a business, you cannot be part of the fulfillment. So very early, I realized, Simon, you can either be fulfillment or you can be management. You cannot be both. Otherwise, you will do both very badly. And so you need to get out of fulfillment, Simon. I researched business coaches for myself, and I booked one that was really, really helpful. And I said, hey, my goal is to be 2 levels above fulfillment in 12 months. Help me. And that was helpful. And it was a process. And that was inner work and outer work of learning the tools also. But the inner work especially, hey, this is me being in a room, and that's the magic. to, hey, no, the magic is the impact. It's not the person. Simon, this is ego. Who is speaking now? This is not impact speaking. This is ego speaking. So if we let aside the ego, what is there? Let's look at the customer, the problem and the solution. And there is a certain process to solve that you always do. So if you let somebody interview you, what do you do in week 0? What do you do in week 1? What do you do in week 2? You have a checklist in your head. You have a structure. And so that was the challenging part. My coach challenged me, get that structure out of your head, Simon. The first thing, we created an online course. And that I used to teach my colleagues. So basically, I fired myself from fulfillment. I started teaching my colleagues what the method is, what I would do in week 0, in week 1, in week 2, in week 3. Of course, it was always different, but also it was always the same. In week 0, I diagnose. In week 1, we set up the process. And the process is always the same. Daily habits, weekly habits, monthly habits. 3 numbers, reports every 7 days. Cadence of the strategy meeting, of the execution meeting, of the sales meeting. It's really always the same if you want it to work. And then you work on the variations. Why do people don't do that right now? And then you have to do, again, a specific form of the conversation. You have to bring everybody in the room. Why are we not experiencing this? What's going on? But that's also a process, because you know in advance that this will happen and you need that loop.
And letting go. Like, I think a lot of people in theory know you can't do it all, but I think especially what you were saying, it's like, yeah, well, I'm the one bringing the magic in here. How can I teach it? And who would be able, that letting go of, nobody, you often get it like, oh, nobody can do it this part, nobody can do it as well as I can. Do you find that to be true in the end or not?
I think it's mostly ego. If you look at it, there is a problem and there is a solution framework, then the framework is much more important than the person. People can go in and out of frameworks. Now, if you want to help me train for a marathon, there are 3-4 plans that you need to work out with me, and then you have to get me doing it and to help me get on track again if I stop doing it. We need a sleeping plan, we need a training plan, we need an eating plan. Now, of course, it will be different if it's be done by Peter or Anke or Maria. But what is really the impact? The impact is the process of me putting in the work being supported by the 3 support structures. And so really the work is to build the support structures, and then everybody can coach Simon to run a marathon. So the work would be once building that support structure, that process that says we have to create these 3 plans and we have to create a daily accountability. And then look, in just now, in 2 minutes, we have just created a certification program for a marathon training.
There you go.
Yeah. So if you go with the patterns, everything is systemizable. And now many personal trainers will, yeah, but it's highly personal. Sure, every trainer will have to look at exactly why Simon is not eating right this week. And that has to do with his specific situation. Of course, you have to listen very carefully to that situation and picking up at his bus stop and then helping him get into the cadence. Yes, that's highly unique, but the process is always the same. How will you do it?
Yeah, I think total sense to me.
Yeah.
I think I think most things that look really unique, it feels like, well, you just haven't seen enough of it yet to recognize the patterns, right? Because the patterns always become apparent. Now, what I'm really intrigued by is the cadence, what's the plan when you're slipping? How do you plan for that? I guess there will be patterns for where people slip and what people stumble over. But how do you normally approach a plan like that?
Yeah, it starts with the philosophy that I think everything will be slipping. I don't think there is anything else than slipping. We have zero control. So the first heart of our philosophy of the strategy sprints method is 95% is out of your control. You cannot control the markets, you cannot control revenue, you cannot control anything. 95% out of your control. But 5% you can control, and this is the process. We call it the 3 habits: the daily habit, weekly habit, monthly habit. So if you're driving in the dark, and this is for me the main situation, I'm telling this now 16 years on stages of the world, now on podcasts, not on stages anymore. But since 11 years, I'm telling you don't know what's coming. You cannot know. You have only assumptions, and they mostly will be wrong. And for 10 years, nobody was listening, and then COVID came, and now people get it. So, okay, now we are all on the same boat. We know that we are driving in the dark, and we know that even small things like viruses are stronger than us. They can disrupt the whole supply chain, and we have no material. So, okay, who is in control here? Not us. And what are the 5%? So if my supply chain can break down next week, if markets can pivot next week, if some parts of my P&L, like mine that is in crypto, can go down 30% in one day and up to 100% in 2 weeks, which is happening right now, what are the 5% that I can really control? So daily habit, weekly habit, monthly habit. Daily habit, we write down how we allocate our time. At 6 o'clock, I'm running, 7, breakfast with the kids, 8, deep work on writing a chapter of a book, etc. And then afternoon, meetings, interviews, and then at some point, end of the day. Now, when I end the day, I have 2 reflective questions that I have to fill out before I design the next day. One is, of all the things that I did today, which one can somebody else do better than me tomorrow? And this helps you identify time suckers, energy suckers, and low leverage tasks. Get rid of them. Start writing down. And as soon as you will find them 2-3 times on your notes, you will start delegating them. And then the second question is, if I would live more freely and more intentionally, what would I do tomorrow? This is where you go, oh, I always wanted to write a book, to start a podcast. Oh, but I have never time for that. So, okay, let's start making time for it. Start a project. And these 2 things, the daily habit of just writing down the day, the flow of tomorrow in the evening with these 2 reflective questions, that sounds so simple, but that is super powerful. Because now, of course, I want everybody in the team to do it. I am the role model in terms of that I do it every day and it's visible, but I expect everybody to do it. And one example is one of my first colleagues, Michelle. She started as a virtual assistant, remote virtual assistant, doing just LinkedIn outreach. And then year by year, she has got more responsibility because she was doing this for herself. She was finding her tasks that are time suckers, energy suckers for her. And whenever she would find that, she would say, okay, Simon, I think 10 hours of doing that and that, I should delegate. And I go, yes, you have the budget, go, hire, onboard, delegate. And so she started with that little task, and then the next task, and the next task, and the next task. 4 years later, she is now head of marketing. She has hired dozens of people and she runs the marketing. But it just started with this simple daily exercise. That's the daily
fascinating. Yeah, I think it's that there's this saying, and I can't remember who said it, but it's like we overestimated what we can do in a day and we underestimate what we can do in a year or 3 years or something. And I think to document, and I had a sewing, my first business was a sewing business, and I really saw very soon that our idea of our guesses for where time goes are really like not very accurate. Like you really have to measure, don't you?
Yes, it helps you find the blind spots. Like since I do this now 5 years every day, And I still find things that don't serve me. And okay, that's the next thing, to delegate, to systemize, or to cut.
Yeah, no, I love that. And so what's the difference between like daily habits, weekly and monthly habits?
So the daily is how you allocate your time and what to systemize next. The weekly is get your numbers reported. Mark 3 marketing numbers, 3 sales numbers, 3 operations numbers. Get them reported. Now, even if you are a solopreneur with just one person, well, then you have to report all the 3 every 7 days to yourself. And so pick the 3 numbers. Don't do 17 numbers. Most people have 17 different metrics. The YouTube watch time, the number of subscribers here, the number of... Who cares? Pick the 3 that will tell you 80% of the story that you need to know. And the story that you need to know is, am I going in the right direction at the right speed? So pick the 3 and make a dashboard out of that. For example, we have one dashboard with 1 marketing number, 1 sales number, 1 operations number per 90 days. And meanwhile, they don't even change anymore after 90 days, but we review every 90 days. Is this still the most important number, or do we change the number? We changed it a couple times. Now it's there. And every week, every Friday, when we come together as a team, that is prepared in advance, and we look at it and we see the 3 numbers. We see where we are, where we want to be, and if it's going up or down. And that makes a huge difference. Imagine you are playing Angry Birds, you shoot the bird, and then it says, instead of saying 500 points, it says, well, congrats, you have shot the bird. In 2 weeks, you will get a report. Exactly. Nobody would play it because the principle of flow and that game became so popular, and this team has done a ton of games, but this one became popular, and my assumption is because it has understood the principles of flow. And one principle of flow is direct, immediate feedback. You only do things where you feel that something's going on, something's going forward. You get energy back, and that feedback becomes a positive loop. You want more of it. If you don't do that, you will just drain energy out of the system, and then you have the boring meetings, boring business, and energy going down. You want energy to go up. So gamification is really important in our team. And it's simple. It starts with this weekly habit of having these 3 numbers, and we look at these 3 numbers. This way, it doesn't feel like you are head of the postal office of your country and you're getting these boring meetings with boring reports. It's friends playing basket. You see the goal. All right, 3 numbers, let's get them up. What happens when you shoot the bird and it says 600 points? And then you shoot the bird again and it says 700 points. What do you want to do next?
Well, I think I always call it that nothing's more addictive than progress, right? And when you see that progress, you just want more of it. And I remember like when I stumbled across the Spanish course that kind of ended up with me living in Spain, it was just literally that. I just studied Spanish just for the pure fun of it. There was no reason or no need for it. It was just, I wanted to have a better time at a trip, but I got hooked on the progress, like, because they were quite clever in that way. There was always lots of feedback, lots of quick wins, there was something, and then you always like, oh, Jesus, like, I can do more than I thought I could. So you want, you kind of have these successes, and nothing's more inspiring to have you do more of it. Yeah. So what's the monthly habit there?
Monthly habit. Now, once a while, you have to do also strategy. So once a month for 1 hour, we do strategy. And because we have the tools, we can do that in 30 minutes, and the rest of the 30 minutes is discussion. So how do you do strategy in 30 minutes? If you use the equalizer, which people can download for free on our website, strategysprints.com/equalizer, in half a minute, you can do a competitive analysis, checking yourself against your 3 top competitors and seeing in the 10 most important things if you are winning or if they are winning. When you know that, then you decide where to cut costs and energy next month and where to put more costs and energy in. So where to invest more time and money. If you use the equalizer, it will ask you a couple of questions, and then at the end you have 3 buckets. It says, okay, here your competitors are winning in this activity, so cut the amount of time and money that you put in there. In the middle, it will say, you are mad, they are mad, so just reduce it a little bit, maybe 5%, 10%. And then on the right side, it says, you are winning here, double down. And then you will find your 1 or 2 categories where you are already winning. So there's nothing new or additional that you need to do. Our whole method works with reducing activities, but also systemizing them. And so you find what works for you and you do more of that. And where do you take the time and money? From the other side, where you have just cut 20%, 30%, because your competitor is winning. So even if you put a lot of effort, you will be same as competitor. Who wants that? We want to be number 1. And so it's better to niche down and be number 1 in where we are already winning. So it will say these 2 features, you are winning already. For example, speed and CEO to CEO coaching. It's already where you are number 1. All right, then we will cut from the other side. Where are we losing? Research, software, tech. All right, let's cut there. Let's move it here. So when in this month, it will be easy, right? Let's cut the amount of software that helps us doing that. Let's cut the amount of trainings that we are having for our people on that. Let's cut the amount of time that we invest in improving that part of the product. And let's put more time and money into improving this part of the product, this part of the sales. That's the monthly.
I love that. I love the focusing on what you're already good at and amplify and go really double down there rather than try and catch up on the things we're not so good at. That's fascinating. Yeah, I love that. And I think looking at things from that structured process point of view, I think that does offer people sort of the guidance and the sense of predictability and safety that I think most entrepreneurs are sort of seeking, because everything's moving, and as you say, like there's 95%, we're flying blind in a way, but I think there is that something to hold on to and something to give you direction and make sure you move forward in the right direction. And I love it that it's that iterative process that you come back and you keep reviewing, are we still on track? Is something changing? And it's flexible at the same time. So I really love that. So what's next for you? Where are you headed?
I keep doing my daily, weekly and monthly habits, and we are growing every week. Last week I've onboarded 2 new strategy sprints coaches. So meanwhile we have become a franchise in many, many countries. So people call me and say, I want to become Strategy Sprints Argentina. How can I do that? And I show them the business model and the certification model, and they come in and say, all right, I'm now Strategy Sprints Argentina. Let's rock this. And so we invite them to the Monday meetings. Monday is where all coaches come together. And we are growing. So they are growing their revenue. We overall are growing our revenue. We are helping more and more people in more and more regions of the world every week. And my job is just really to go with the flow. So I go with where we are growing, and I help repair the problems. Because as you know, with growth, every time you have systems and they are running, and now you grow, then some part breaks. And so my job is go with the flow. Okay, we're growing in this category, in that country. Go with the flow and observe the weak signals. Oh, this will break next. So, okay, I need to work on form, fit, and function of that part of the sales or of the marketing or of the operations, because this will break next. If we get 15 more clients at once there, this part will break. So my job is, okay, in the morning when I have my deep work time, I will put 2 to 3 hours and think that whole thing through and work it through. And then coming up with a protocol, a governance, a system, call it as you want, an SOP for that product or for that country, one that is scalable. And when I need help, I book coaches myself, or in the Monday meeting, because all these people are amazingly smart, I come with a draft and I ask them for work critique. And I say, yeah, that might be scalable, because my colleagues, they were running Google, Ernst & Young, Coca-Cola. Some of them are in the advisory board of esports. These people are smarter than I am. So I come in with a draft of something. I think if with this model, we could scale, and they shoot holes in it. And then I go and make a second round. And then 10 days later, it's ready. And that one, it's like a spiral. And we are on the next level of that spiral, and we are systemized again. Until the next thing breaks, and my job is to go with the flow.
I think it's that continuous spiral, right? And it's just recognizing that it just won't, it won't be a straight line, and you just go around and yeah. But I love it, the idea of identifying things that are about to break before you have the problem at hand. So where can people go find out about you and get the tools you have? You have a whole bunch of tools on your website. So where can people go and find out? Obviously, I'm going to pop those in the show notes, but for those who are just listening, I'd love you to spell it out for them.
Strategysprints.com. And if you're looking for that specific equalizer tool, it's strategysprints.com/equalizer. And we are on all socials everywhere. So if you say Simon Severino or Strategy Sprints, you will find us everywhere. We hang out on all social places and we like to interact. So happy to answer questions.
Fabulous. Well, thank you so much. That was inspiring and immensely practical and valuable at the same time. So thank you so much for coming. And yeah, let's systemize more businesses.
Thank you, Anke. Thank you, everybody. Keep rolling.
Thank you. Bye.
Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed the episode, please subscribe and leave a review to help others find it. If you are a coach, speaker, or author, a passionate big picture thinker with a vision, and you want to build an online business to reach and impact more people, go to passionbusinesspodcast.com and download a free copy of my book, Taming the Tech Monster. And join my free community, Don't Just Learn, Create, Business Building for Mavericks, to connect with others on the same path. That's passionbusinesspodcast.com. I'll speak to you soon.